Hey, what's up, guys? I didn't expect to make this video because I didn't expect this trade to happen because the Utah Jazz traded away Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland for Larry Markkinen, Ochar Agbaji, Colin Sexton, three unprotected first-round picks, and two pick swaps. This came out of nowhere for me. I checked my phone and I saw the notification from Woj that Donovan was getting traded to Cleveland, and I was just like in shock because all the rumors and all the conversation about Donovan Mitchell getting traded this offseason, which was inevitable, was to the New York Knicks because, Donovan is from New York. He's kind of had ties, like New York is, I don't know, they've had like connections between them for the past few years. And now that Utah was blowing it up, it seemed like inevitable that the Knicks would try and swoop in and take Donovan Mitchell and have their first kind of like star back in New York. And then Cleveland, kind of out of nowhere. I mean, there was a few rumors about Cleveland, but it seemed like 100% Knicks. Cleveland came out of nowhere and got Donovan Mitchell in this trade. I was not expecting this trade at all, and the fact that Cleveland got Donovan Mitchell without giving up Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, or Jared Allen is crazy because now they have a really, really good young core. Darius Garland is like 21 years old. Evan Mobley was a rookie last year. He's like barely 20 years old. Jared Allen is still super young. And now they got Donovan Mitchell, who's like 26 years old. And this is a really good, nice young core. This is an amazing trade for Cleveland, man. They've been growing up this young core through the draft the last couple of years since LeBron left. They got Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Evan Mobley all through the draft. And, people aren't really going to sign to Cleveland or anything like that. So they have to go through the draft or, get trades. And they traded for Donovan Mitchell. And I think at this point in their team, this was like the perfect move because I feel like their team is good enough now to start competing. Like last season, not many people expected them to really make a playoff push. And if they weren't injured through the last few like months of the season, they probably would have been like a 7 or 8 seed. And unfortunately, they ended up falling out because of the injuries. But like this team with Garland in his like third year now, he was just amazing. And Evan Mobley as a rookie, he was like my favorite prospect before Scotty Barnes. And, just the defensive versatility and like he's so good on the defensive side already as a rookie. And alongside Jared Allen as like a Twin Towers sort of like, a Duncan and Robinson in the 90s. That defense was like amazing for Cleveland. And, with Garland going up to like 23, 24, almost 25 points this last season, averaging like 8 or 9 assists. He just blossomed this season. And a big issue for Cleveland was the fact that it was kind of Darius Garland alone as the main ball handler because obviously Colin Sexton missed the whole year due to an ACL injury, I believe. And the big question for for Cleveland now was, okay, you have Darius Garland, who's a great ball handler, but you kind of need somebody else beside him. And now they got Donovan Mitchell, who's obviously a great scorer, ball handler, 3-point shooter. He's been carrying Utah's offense not really carrying Utah's offense because Utah's offense has been one of the best the past few years with just the volume and the accuracy of their 3-point shooting. But obviously Donovan Mitchell was the engine of that team, and whenever they needed a bucket or in late game situations, they always went to him. He was very clutch in the playoffs. He's been averaging like 30 plus points. And now they get him to pair alongside Darius Garland, and they have the defense of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen behind them. And this team is super young, and they're all under contract. Darius Garland just signed an extension for like 4 more years. Evan Mobley is under like the rookie extension stuff, so he's signed for the 7 years. I believe Donovan Mitchell has like 3 more years. So like, and Jared Allen just signed a 4-year deal last year. So like this core is under contract, and now they really just have to go out there and hoop. And I think that they have like in a few years, like in a year or two, they can be easily like a top 3 seed, honestly. Next year, I don't know what seed they're going to be. I would have to go through all the teams because the East now is really stacked. And, it's kind of hard to just immediately after a trade say that, oh, they're going to be a top 4 seed because, there's a lot of really good teams in the East. It's not guaranteed, but Donovan is an electric scorer, and alongside Darius Garland, he's not going to have all the ball handling duty. He's going to have somebody else to pass to look to score alongside him. And like Rudy Gobert, he's going to have a good big man behind him to defend. And on the defensive side, the front court with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, that's fine. The back court, however, I'm still a little bit worried because Darius Garland, I believe, is 6'1" at most. Donovan Mitchell is like 6'2", 6'3". Neither of them, due to their size, they're not that very good at defending. Donovan Mitchell especially, he's not a very good defender, especially last year. And, Utah survived because of Rudy Gobert behind him. And now Donovan is going to have another big man behind him. But I feel like now that he's going to have more options offensively with Evan Mobley's growth and Darius Garland just being an amazing point guard that he is, I think that his duty now is going to be trying a bit more on defense, because if not, like, he was like a cone last year. Like, people would just run past him on the perimeter, and that's going to be the next challenge for Cleveland now, is perimeter defense, because, in the paint, the rim protection on this team is really good, but on the perimeter, I'm not looking to Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland to lock up anybody. I would hope that Donovan Mitchell, entering his prime now, he's going to be trying to try a bit more on defense now that he's not going to have to do as much on offense. The small forward position is now a big question mark for Cleveland, in my opinion. I think Isaac Okoro is going to have to make, a big jump eventually. I don't know if he's going to make a big jump. I believe in his third season. Yeah, I think next season is his third season. So, for Cleveland's sake, I hope he makes a good jump. He's kind of a 3-and-D guy, but he's not that good on the 3 yet, and he's pretty decent on defense. But he's going to need to be the perimeter lockdown guy for this team, because they don't really have that right now. But I think their starting lineup is going to be really good next season with Garland, Donovan, Isaac Okoro. I'm going to take out the 3, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. That's going to be a really good starting 5. They're going to have the offense of the backcourt with Donovan and Garland, and the front court defense. And, Evan Mobley, the sky's the limit for him. He can win multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards in his career. I think on offense, he's just starting out. He showed out, flashes of him. He hasn't really been creating his own shot that much. But, with Garland as your point guard, you kind of want him running the show. I think eventually Evan Mobley is going to have to start showing more on offense himself, and I think he's capable of that. Donovan as well on this team, I think he's going to just provide another great scoring option for them. And Garland, he's just starting out. This last season was like his best season, and he's still super young. Not even, maybe he's 22, or I think he's still 21. Either way, super, super young core, tied up for a long time now. And now they just have to go out there and play well. Off the bench, they still have Karis LeVert, and I think Karis LeVert off the bench is his role. I think he'll be a good bench scorer. That's what he was in Brooklyn, and that's when he was at his best. And I think you need Isaac Okoro for his defense in there. Their bench, they're still going to have Kevin Love off the bench, a good veteran. He stuck it out after a couple of years of not so good in Cleveland, but he stuck it out, and he's still there as a veteran for them. But, other than those two, there's not that many people off the bench that I'm super excited for Cleveland. So I think that's going to be another thing for them that they're going to have to try and figure out. Obviously for them, now that they have this young core, they decided to just throw away all their picks, basically 5 picks, 6 picks. You basically have to include Ochar Agbaji as a first-round pick because he was just drafted like 2-3 months ago now. So basically like 6 first-round picks. The 2 pick swaps, maybe it gets swapped over. I don't know exactly how those work. But basically like 4 first-round picks. I think trading away all these picks for Cleveland was their best move, because now that they were starting to perform a bit better, they were trying to push into the playoffs. And I think next year they were trying to really like be a staple in the playoffs, they're not really going to be looking for those picks to provide them much of value, you know? They're not really going to be looking to get like another star with one of those picks if they're also going to be trying to contend for the playoffs. So now they kind of was just like, hey, we built up this young duo of Garland and um, Evan Mobley out of the draft. We traded for Jared Allen and Karis LeVert. And why not trade all of our picks? Because we know that we want to compete. We want to start making playoff pushes, start making playoff runs with these really young players. Let's go trade for another young star who's amazing on offense, who can provide another ball handler for us. You know, why not throw out all of these picks? I feel like picks for some teams like these, at a certain point, it's not worth having them anymore because you're not really going to get the value. So might as well get rid of them for Donovan Mitchell. And on Utah's side, Danny Ainge over there managing as GM has done amazing work this offseason, trading away Rudy Gobert and getting all those picks for him just absolutely destroyed the market because, I mean, like KD market specifically, because nobody was going to trade KD for less than however much Rudy Gobert got, right? And he knew that once he traded Gobert, he wasn't going to keep Mitchell for into the season because there's no reason to. It's basically a full reset in Utah now. And, I think the Knicks are trying to trade RJ Barrett for Donovan Mitchell. I believe the rumors were like 2 unprotected first round picks plus RJ and maybe another young player, but they didn't agree on that. And Danny Ainge just wanted these picks, man, because now for, I think, until 2029, Utah has 13 first-round picks. So, again, they're going in the OKC route of just getting as many picks as possible, tanking, not trying to get anything other than the first-round pick. Just trying to get first-round picks and also the first overall pick, especially in this upcoming draft. But, yeah, for Utah, they were just really looking to get picks, and I guess New York wasn't really looking to offload all of their picks and RJ Barrett. And honestly, I didn't really like the idea of trading RJ for Donovan Mitchell. I would have rather had Donovan with RJ, and in that case, you weren't going to be able to trade Jalen Brunson because you just signed him. And I don't really think that the Utah wanted Julius Randle, and I'm not very high on Julius Randle at all. I think that his best season was, I don't want to say it was a fluke, but I'm not confident in him doing that again in another season. So I didn't really want them to trade RJ for Donovan because Donovan is good, but I don't think he's like your best player, championship caliber team good. And alongside Jalen Brunson, that would have been a small backcourt. And alongside Julius Randle, I just didn't like that at all for the Knicks. If they were somehow going to get Donovan alongside RJ, then, that would have been better. If they traded away a bunch of young guys and picks, maybe. But I guess they decided not, and they decided to extend RJ. Good for him. And Cleveland took the opportunity to say, hey, man, we got this young core. Let's accelerate this young core by adding still a pretty young player. He's only like 26 years old. Let's accelerate this timeline, and let's start competing. Like, we don't need the draft anymore. We got our draft guys. We're not going to sign anybody major like that. Let's just go all out for a trade and get this guy while he's here, and let's start competing. And for Cleveland, I think this trade is an A+. For Utah, I understand the value in first-round picks, and honestly, I wouldn't really have wanted to trade for RJ because you would have to, one, start paying him, just like the Knicks just signed their extension, $120 million extension for RJ Barrett. I don't think Utah really wanted to have any money on the books long term because obviously they are in tank mode, and having RJ would kind of interfere with them tanking for like a first overall pick or anything like that. And now I think for Utah, Woj tweeted down here, Sexton has agreed to a sign and trade deal to join Utah. I believe it was like $72 million for the next 4 years. Sexton, the last year that he played, not last year, but the year before, he averaged 20 points per game. He's a pretty small guard. He's not the best playmaker or defender, but, give him some money. Let him ball out by himself in Utah. And I think Danny Ainge would just trade him in like 2 years when he gets his value back up on like a relatively small deal too, you know? So I think for Utah now, for in this trade especially, I guess I would give it like a B plus. You know, maybe you could convince yourself that you would rather have a young player to be excited for Utah, but I think what they really wanted is all these picks. I think everybody on Utah now is just up for grabs. It's going to be a fire sale over there. I expect more trades. I don't know if they're going to all come before the season, but I expect almost everybody on the Utah Jazz to be traded by the trade deadline. Jordan Clarkson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Rudy Gay, Mike Conley, all of them. Give me more first round picks. I think the Lakers would give a first round pick for like Mike Conley, you know, like they're that desperate. So, I mean, for Utah, they're basically just going to try and sell everybody for as many first round picks as they can get. And then they're just going to roll out what they got: Ochai Abachi, Colin Sexton. I mean, Larry Markkinen is not like, I don't think he's going to be more than he is right now. He's still relatively young, but I don't think he's going to be like an all-star or anything like that. Definitely not. Ochai Abachi, I don't really know about him. Walker Kessler, they got as a first-round pick from Minnesota in the Rudy Gobert trade. Colin Sexton, just roll out a bunch of young guys and let them do whatever they want. Lose a bunch of games. Hopefully get the first overall pick. And, you know, that's their plan as far as I can tell. And if that's their plan, then, I mean, this is a pretty good trade getting all of these picks. And for Cleveland, this is a A++ trade for them.